Okay, this is practical assessment 3.H.17, ailments to the digestive system. First up, we're going to talk about colic. There's 4 different types of colic. Our first type is spasmodic colic. This is the most frequently occurring type of colic, and it is the result of spasms to the intestinal muscle wall. This can usually be caused by damage from intestinal parasites and worms, the larvae from those. The damage is done to the intestinal wall when the parasites move around, and it can also be caused by if you feed a horse too soon after work. Now the next type of colic we're going to talk about is impactive colic. Impactive colic is caused by an impaction of food in the large intestine. Basically, it's not breaking down and it's just all compacting together. Usually a vet can determine where the impaction is. They usually do this via a rectal exam. Our next type of colic is our gaseous distension colic. This type of colic can be very, very painful and can develop from impactive colic. This can be because the gases inside the stomach can build up behind the impaction in the bowel. It can also occur as a result of fermentation of the food in the intestines. Obstructions to the flow of food material which is being digested, such as a twisted gut, can also be involved with gaseous distension. Treatment can involve opening up the horse's abdomen to release the gases. It can be very, very serious. Next up we're going to talk about botulism. Botulism is basically a toxin. The toxin's caused by spore-forming bacteria, and they come from decaying plant or animal matter, and it can be more common in humid environments, and this bacteria forms a lethal toxin. Now, if you have a foal with botulism, you might see dilated pupils. The foal might have trouble sucking. They might not be able to swallow. They might be very weak. They have tremors throughout their muscles. They could collapse and they'll be unable to stand back up. Now, if the botulism was in an adult horse, you might see muscle tremors throughout the horse's muscles and flanks. The horse might have a weak, shuffling-like gait. It could be uncoordinated, and also may have difficulty swallowing and chewing its food. You can get motor problems from botulism, and they can be anywhere from mild to severe. Now, the more severe motor problems can result in death. This can be caused by the paralysis of the respiratory system. Treatment, there's not so much a treatment. There is an antitoxin available in the US, but the best treatment for this is prevention. It's a classic case of prevention's better than the cure. So you need to make sure that there's no mould growing in your food. Your horses don't have access to decaying plant or animal matter, especially if you're in a humid environment. So you need to be very, very wary of your horse's environment. Next we're going to talk about enteritis. Enteritis is caused by the inflammation of the intestines. This can sometimes be caused by irritation to the intestinal wall, and it can be due to a viral or bacterial infection, maybe worms, or maybe the horse has been out too much and had too much fresh green grass after a lot of rain. And also if you overfeed too much high protein type foods, it can also cause enteritis as well. Enteritis is basically an irritation of the bowel and diarrhea. So your symptoms include diarrhea, and it can be anything from like you could have a loose cowpat type diarrhea, or basically they could just be passing brown coloured water, and they're the more severe types. And enteritis can also cause the horses to become dehydrated. The treatments for enteritis, you'd need to call your vet. It's important that you identify the irritants. You can do this. The vet may take samples of the stools to identify the irritant, so then you'd remove the irritant. If it's feed that caused it, if you fed too much high protein feed, obviously you'd reduce that high protein feed. And if the horses do get dehydrated, they may get IV fluids from the vet. Okay, now in this assessment it says sesamoiditis, but sesamoiditis is a skeletal ailment, not a digestive tract ailment, so I'm guessing that was a typo. So I don't think that was meant to be in for the practical assessment for this, but I thought I'd just mention it given that it is in the practical assessment outline. Now the last thing we're going to talk about is colitis X. Colitis X is disturbance of the intestinal tract. Diarrhea, or the onset of diarrhea, is usually the first symptom, and it's associated with stress, such as maybe the horse has had surgery. They can react to different types of antibiotics that could cause colitis X, or also if they've been transported and they've been stressed during this time. Symptoms of colitis X: the horse may have severe depression, cold extremity, shock, high temperature, dehydration, elevated heart rate, mucous membranes can be discoloured, the heart rate may be rapid, and they will have profuse watery diarrhea. Obviously not in that order. As the symptoms, or as the horse gets more severe, the symptoms will progress down through an order, but not in the order that I've just said. Treatment for colitis X. It's suggested that the treatments for colitis X are ineffective, basically because the onset of colitis X and the progression of it is so rapid that treatments don't have time to work effectively. Also suggested that death can occur to horses who have colitis X as early as 3 hours from the onset of the first symptoms. Okay, so that's our practical assessment for 3.H.17, ailments of the digestive system.